Hello my friends, let's start from the good news. By the way, we have many of them today, but frontline is the important topic for this particular video, and you may see Ukraine expands territorial gains in Pokrovsk, Dobropilya direction. This is the place where Russia was capable to break through Ukrainian defense, advanced by 17 kilometers, but this entire group of the Russian army was either encircled or kaputted. Reportedly 3,000 of the Russian troops were flatlined in this direction. Well, here you can see new attack or counterattack vectors of Ukrainian army and Russian surrender in Zatushok and Fedorovka village. We have the confirmation about it. Let's go to the map itself. So here Ukraine tries to expand. For now it's the gray zone because maybe Russia acts with their sabotage groups here, but mainly Ukraine breaks and takes initiative. So here we have the reference to OSINT analytics. They show some of the Russian troops placed in this region, geolocated indeed. So before Russia reported that they advanced, but no, Ukrainian soldiers take Russian soldiers' POVs near village of Fedorovka. We have it here. And the same thing is nearby. Here's the reference. Ukrainian soldiers captured 9 Russian soldiers near Zatushok village. So this is the road. There are some of the Russian soldiers visible. We have this video from Skela unit, their operation in Pokrovsk direction. Their Russians were imprisoned, so those are Ukrainians being interviewed and Russians shown here. This is the Russian soldier who was imprisoned, and Ukrainians tell how they did this operation. Yeah, those Russians were definitely lucky out there. Probably that's the only reason, guys, for me to have the Twitter account, because there are still lots of the OSINT analytics, so they share their data here, and in many of the cases with very low censorship. So I analyze this data and I share it with you. But my account there, I sometimes post something, but not very actively as on Telegram, for example. So I hope that Ukraine will push Russians closer to this. There is the tiny little river here, and Russia cannot put reliable logistics, but Ukraine absolutely should push Russians away from this entire place, because Russia wants to strike this area once again. So all of those bridgeheads, they might be potentially used by Russia for the further expansion. And the Rodinsky situation is also very important for Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. As we know, Russians already entered the settlement with a small group of the forces. For now, they were repelled, and Ukraine continued to push from northern side. So for now, Rodinsky is under Ukrainian control, but this settlement is very close to the front lines, and we'll see what it might happen. Then Russia starts its massive assault, and I think, like, I give 90% that after all Russia may start it, because we have the evidence coming, some photos of the Russian vehicles. You can see, I guess those are after all China-made vehicles, something new. Yeah, Bukhanka van is the standard one, but those were spotted. Is it KAMAZ, really? The new modification looks like China-made. Yeah, KAMAZ actually. Maybe they use China components now to build their trucks. They look really unusual as for KAMAZ. By the way, this company is in crisis now, as many of the companies in Russia, so maybe they use China spare parts to make it cheaper. Those photos were taken in Donetsk direction, and you may see this anchor symbol over here. Those are the Russian Marines of 155th Brigade that was kaputted many of the times, but still it is out there. They renew command, renew soldiers, and they act in many of the directions. Before, Russia used those in Sumy, and now they send those from Sumy to Donetsk, preparing for the major strike. Also, we have those images taken in Kherson direction. Russian army sends armored vehicles, tanks from Kherson. It was filmed on the way from Kherson, not to. And judging on this evidence, I give pretty much high chance for Russia to start new offensive, like the major one in Donetsk direction, in eastern Ukraine. Russia will try to use the new strategy to concentrate the large group in a single direction, not spread them elsewhere. And this direction will be Pokrovsk, Dobropilya. It is very high chance. Our soldiers and our commanders speak about it, as well as Russian military bloggers, plus we have evidence of it. And because Russia moves the forces out, for example, from Sumy direction, Ukraine intensifies the strikes and counterattacks. For example, for the last 24 hours, Ukraine propelled a little from Kindrativka village. We have it here from the Maikov 7.3, and we have the same data coming from the NOAA reports. Here I would say that Ukraine is almost touching Russian border. And I think that Konstantinovka will be next for Ukraine to liberate, because here supplies for the Russian army, they're not really good, I would say, supply lines. We'll see. Ukraine is very active in Sumy. And in direction of Kupiansk, I would say there is no change. Ukraine tries to push Russians in Moskovka. That's how they call the settlement. And I already said yesterday about this flag operation where Russia sent their flags either by drones or by infantry forces. But just 1 or 2 men who were sometimes even wearing civilian uniform or civilian clothes went to the city and put the flags, made the photos with drones, and in some of the cases were flatlined by Ukrainians. And all of that is done just to show the Russian high military commanders, maybe to Gerasimov himself, and later on he shares this information with Putin, that the Russian army, for example, entered the central part of Kupiansk, then in fact it is not like that. Those are just crazy kamikaze missions for nothing. Russia just sends their soldiers for one way, let's say. Yeah, again, we have photo from Kupiansk. This is the Russian flag operation that went terribly wrong for Russia. And more from Kupiansk, we have this area in Kidrashivka where Ukraine uses mortars to hit Russian positions. Russians are hiding in this forest patch. And there is, I would say, the only direction where Russia definitely gains the ground. For example, in Novoselivka, they definitely went there with substantial amount of the infantry forces. So those flags are, I would say, real. Yeah, we have the geolocation, and before Ukraine was successful in pushing the Russians out from Novoselivka, but Russia sent some of the reinforcements. I would say that defense of Ukraine in this region is the weakest one, and this is the border with Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. Novoselivka is on territory of Dnipropetrovsk already. So if Russian command was smarter, they would concentrate the big attack forces maybe even in this direction, but they want to attack in Pokrovsk. It is clear that they don't want to change their main goal. And here Ukrainian defense is, I would say, the most significant from entire front lines. So the outcome for their upcoming attack, you may understand it, it's going to be the same as in 2022. Then the Russians went to Kiev with all of those big long convoys, but now Ukraine has drones and everything. So I expect the Russian army to really suffer if they want to attack with those convoys once again, and it seems like they want to do it. Let's go to the other source, Deep State Military Map. They say that definitely Russia moves towards Novoselivka. It was yesterday. Today they've took this tree line and a couple of the fields under control, and also their presence was definitely confirmed in Novoselivka. However, all of the analytics put it into the gray zone still. It's interesting. In Kislivka, Ukraine pushed Russians a little, so yesterday, today, maybe it's just the clarification of the military map, really nothing. I would say a few meters here, few hundred meters. Yeah, Deep State says that the area was specified also in the southern direction, so they have new data showing just fluctuations of the front lines. And more about Pokrovsk direction and Mirnograd, I don't see lots of the Russian attempts to really gain control over 2 of those settlements for the last 3 days. Well, 4 days ago there was an attempt of the Russian army to get Novoekonomichna village under their full control. They advanced from 3 of the vectors using convoys, but they lost totally 9 of the vehicles without any sort of the real success achieved on the front lines. It was again a kamikaze attack of the Russian army. Unsuccessful one, absolutely. So maybe now they gather more forces for the major jump. All right, Ukrainian military intelligence shares this video. Those are Ukrainian manned and unmanned boats operating in the Black Sea. During this operation, Russia lost the avant-post and also one of the boats. So it happened not far away from one of those speeds, going very close to Crimea. So fantastic operation done by Ukrainian military intelligence that continue to operate else, even on the sea. Well, sometimes Russia intercepts Ukrainian drone boats, like for example in this case, drone was kaputted in the Black Sea also. But Ukraine has many of them, and they are still in production. Magura 7 is the most popular one, but sometimes, yeah, those operations might be intercepted by Russian aviation. That's why sometimes Ukraine installs air defense missiles on those drone boats. So I would say it's very risky for Russia to use aviation here. But it was probably the Russian attack drone Orion, which is the analog of the Bayraktar TB2, but I'm not sure about it 100%, but looks like it. Well, here Russians confirmed that definitely it was Orion drone, but it was used just for surveillance mission and also to film the stuff. But the strike itself was conducted by another drone, Lancet. So Russia uses Lancets on the front lines as well as to secure their waters close to Crimea, for example, occupied territory of Ukraine. While Russia lost S-300 air defense, we have the video about it shared by Ukrainian defenders, drone cameras. So Russia was transporting This system software, it was accompanied by two of the vehicles. As you may see, it is a launcher of S-300, and Russians started to run after they heard the drone, and with the drone drop, the system was definitely kaboomed. It is wow. 100% it is not a decoy. Just look at this kaboom. It is really, really huge. Yeah, the rocket fuel does those kind of the fireworks, outstanding ones. Awesome hit by Ukrainian defenders. It means that Russia puts S-300 systems very close to the front lines, because for the last few months Ukraine started to use aviation more on the front lines. Russia tries to do something with it, but you see it's not going well for them. And here's one more Buk air defense. You may see Russians try to hide it in this hangar. But later on, Ukrainian drone visited the place, and yeah, it was kaboomed again. There's the vehicle. It was already devastated, but there was, just in case, the second strike on this one. Plus, one more Buk air defense was chased by Ukrainian drone. It was a drone drop on this one, and again, big kaboom, this time of the Buk air defense. Buk M1, as it was reported. My friends, I'm gonna film one more video, I hope very soon, with general news update, because I have something to say. We have good news and concerning news as usual, so bear with me for more updates, and many thanks for my Patreon supporters who continue to motivate me to film more and more. The link for my Patreon page, if you want to support me, just in the video description below. Thank you guys also for watching this video, for pressing your likes, subscriptions. You're just awesome. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.